I was interested in post-MI, heart attack, and what happens to people after they've had a large heart attack and they survive. Because this is more and more now the case. Because we are so close to great hospitals like St. V, where if we do have a major heart attack or an MI, myocardial infarction or MI, we can come be treated, get out of danger at the acute phase and make it through the following week or two without passing away. And then the heart magically becomes a little bit stronger and, it soldiers on. But the initial size of the insult or the damage to the ventricular wall is crucial. And you either have a sublethal initial damage or it's not sublethal. In other words, it can be a lethal problem. So even if you survive and that infarct size is large, you will compensate, or the heart will compensate, bump along, and you'll be okay. You can be supported by various drugs which keep you going, keep that engine running. It's spluttering. It's sometimes not hitting on all 7 cylinders, or 8, I should say. I'm getting ahead of myself.
7.
Feels like 7. Something's not quite right, and yet, and quality of life can be impacted. So if a person enjoyed long walks, or, towing kids in a wagon, or doing things where it involved a little bit of exertion, that ability is suddenly gone. And so what I'm interested in is to learn about why the initial size of the infarct is so important, why we spiral into progressive heart failure. See, the sobering fact is, if the infarct is of a certain size, 5 years out from that infarct, let's say everybody makes it through that acute phase, 5 years out, half of those people will be dead. So that's with all the drugs we have, which is not inconsiderable numbers of drugs. We have a lot of drugs to help people compensate, but there are a number of progressive problems that crop up, and one of them is that the infarct itself, or that scarred over region, you get wound healing happening. That's a good thing, always is. And you get it's kind of a bolstering of the infarct scar. And then what happens is the peri-infarct area, or the region just around the infarction, starts to remodel, and you have a situation where wound healing continues on well past where it should. So we're not evolved, you and I and the billions on the planet. Homo sapiens is not evolved to survive an MI. We're not even supposed to have them, right? You look at the paleo diet, none of us would have this problem, right? So the problem is we eat too much, what I had for lunch probably. And it leads to issues where a skin wound repairs, stops repairing, scar forms, and there's a slow maintenance that goes on for the rest of your life. But in the heart, you have the repair, you have continuing or ongoing repair, which is bad, and then you have this infarct expansion. So the scar actually gets bigger and bigger, and it changes the geometry of this hollow ventricular muscle organ, which is your heart, to the point where it doesn't fill or eject properly anymore. So if you have a balloon that's just the right size, and it allows for the walls to come back and pump blood or air or whatever, I'm getting into a balloon analogy, which is probably not right. But if you overfill a balloon or blow it up too much, the tendency to come back to a normal shape is lost. And the same thing applies to heart. I mean, it's an oversimplification, but that's the case.